This is Julianne Condia, host of Rewritten. Thank you so much for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
And welcome to Beauties and Headcanons, where we're nerdy, and you probably are too. So, if you couldn't tell by the title, we're going to be talking about the newest Star Wars movie that has hit the theaters. Since we had, the whole month of Star Wars last month, we are finally getting around to watching the movie and talking about what we think about it, what we liked, what we didn't like, and so here we go. Here's our review episode. And as part of our special review here, we have a special guest host that I think some of you may remember. We have Emily back with us today.
Hey, everybody. I'm back. Hi. I'm so excited to be back. Thanks for asking me to join you on this episode.
Of course, we had to have you back before technically this isn't before the end of the year, but still.
Close enough.
Yeah.
But first, for Geek on Fleek, I'm going to talk a little bit about the movies that are coming out in 2020. 2020 has officially begun, and what I think is really interesting to me is looking at a lot of the movies that are coming out. I'm feeling sort of like underwhelmed. Elizabeth and I have talked a lot about movies that are kind of playing on our nostalgia and rebooting things that we're used to having already seen. Redoing movies that we've grown up with or that have already been done. And seriously, 2020 is just an homage to that in a lot of ways. Aside from things like, I guess, Wonder Woman 1984 looks pretty cool. And so does, what's the other one that's coming out? Marvel Eternals is coming out in 2020. That looks pretty cool. But as far as, like, Birds of Prey... what did you say that you thought that was going to be about, Elizabeth?
What, Birds of Prey?
Yeah.
I think Emily kind of said it, but I mean, she hit it the nail right on the head, where it's kind of like just this girl villain get together hangout movie. Yeah. It doesn't feel like it has a plot.
It looks like it's just a bunch of girl villains that they're going to just go have a party or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Right,
not super enthused.
I'm all for like a plot, but there's some stuff lately that I'm seeing that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and I'm not sure what's going on. Onward we finally have a trailer for it, and I was super excited to see Chris Pratt and Tom Holland in a movie together, but I'm really confused about what they thought they were doing with the plot line of this movie, because the couple lines that they tell you what the movie's going to be about are really misleading. And now we're seeing like a pair of pants walking around with some magic that these two brothers are trying to go find. And we've all heard the Pixar theories about the world and where this particular show fits in. And I'm just really confused as to what they thought they were doing. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff they're rebooting too. Dune, I don't know if either of you guys grew up with Dune, but Dune is supposed to be redone and coming out in December.
Oh, Lord.
Please tell me one of you watched that.
I haven't watched it, but I know a little bit about it.
Okay.
I am not familiar.
Well, it's a fantasy world where spice is like the main trade, and there's, I mean, without going too far into it, it's a sci-fi series that had Sting as one of the main dudes in it. It was really cool. But
wait, which Sting?
Sting, like Sting, like the Sting.
Like, there's two Stings that I know of that go by Sting.
Roxanne, you don't have to turn out the red light.
Okay.
Roxanne.
Okay, the singer Sting. Because there is a wrestler Sting who goes by the same name.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Okay.
And he does act as well, so...
Oh, jeez. Okay, so maybe they're getting him to play the... No, I'm kidding. But West Side Story, they're doing West Side Story again in December. And, I mean, okay, sure. That one's going to be directed by Steven Spielberg. That might be interesting. I don't know. But but I'm just so confused as to why we got to keep. There's so many amazing minds out there. Why do we keep rebooting all of this weirdness going on? I'm just I'm underwhelmed is the best way to say it. Truly, we were talking before we started recording about the NPC movie where Ryan Reynolds is like a awakened character, but even the way that they're really playing that off, like an NPC character who awakens and like has to like save the plot of anything sounds really cool, but the name of it, what did you say it was?
I think it's Free Guy.
Free Guy? Like,
Free Guy.
We couldn't come up with something better than that for title?
Right. It doesn't even like describe the movie.
Well, maybe they wanted
and that's why we were having such a hard time thinking of what the title was, because it didn't really go with it.
Well, maybe they wanted it to be innocuous, kind of like he is in his kind of world. That's my best guess. I'm absolutely terrible at coming up with titles, so I can't really speak on it that much.
There is going to be a new Ghostbusters movie. That sounds kind of cool, I guess.
I did see the trailer for that, and it seems like they're basically kind of retconning that what was it, 2016 Ghostbusters with the female cast and everything like that, because it seems like they're actually going back to the original Ghostbusters, or at least to where the guys from the original Ghostbusters are like actually there and exist as actual Ghostbusters, instead of like how they were in the reboot where they were there but they weren't who they were originally in the original movies. So and it's also like takes place after, so it's like kind of like their grandsons or like that generation. So it did seem interesting, so I will reserve judgment for now until we know more.
We have seen the trailers for Black Widow.
Not interested.
Oh, yeah.
But it's coming out in April. I feel like that's way too quick. And I'm not terribly interested. I feel like we already got a Black Widow movie with, what's her name from... It seems a lot like that Red Bird movie.
The Red Sparrow.
It seems like it's going to be a lot like that. And then seeing Scarlett Johansson's counterpart is supposed to be her sister.
Or a sister figure. Like, I know who she is. Yelena.
She's speaking in, like, super Russian. And I'm like, all I really want is Scarlett Johansson to just have a Russian accent.
Well,
like, a believable one.
Right?
Well, see, like, I do know, like, the characters involved, and I am really, like, not a fan of Yelena, like, at all. No. It's just me personally. I do not like Yelena at all. Like, she's just not interesting to me. I've never liked her. And so, like, knowing that she's going to be in there and probably be a big part of it, it just really turns me off, to be honest.
Sure.
That's for one. And for two, I mean, we know how I was about to say her story, but we know how her story ends. So it's like, unless we're going to actually add a lot to her and her background, I don't see that much of a point. Like, if they were going to go all the way back to when she was training in the Red Room and, like, actually really explore all of that, that would be one thing, because we don't really know that much about it. But this is supposed to take place between Infinity War and Endgame, which, you know, we kind of basically know what she's been about, so...
Right, so how different can it be?
Right, exactly. Like, how much is it really going to add of value?
A couple of other things. Emily will be really excited. It looks like they've actually announced Artemis Fowl is going to be coming out.
Yes, they have. I think it's August. Is that right?
Okay.
I'm super pumped.
I don't see a date that's posted, so
you don't have a
maybe
date?
they're
Okay.
working on it, but...
I might
sounds
just
really cool.
still check on that.
So that sounds like an awesome thing for them to be doing. And then Mulan, I know we've seen trailers for it, but I'm not sure. I guess we're all really hoping that it's going to be historically accurate and interesting. More interesting for me than, like, The Lion King, because I left watching The Lion King like, ugh, how could I do this to myself? So,
I didn't even go see it, honestly.
Me neither.
I'm like, the
Lion King
animated
was
one is just so great.
Yeah, it was like my lifeblood growing up, and I know we didn't do an episode on it, Elizabeth, but I do know that what I was the most concerned about when I watched it was like, you know, when you watch those movies, I don't know if you guys watch them with your kids or not, but I used to watch like the weird Snow Buddies movies with Aurelia, and the expressionlessness of the faces.
With the dogs.
Yeah, it's so weird for them to be talking or trying to make jokes or even say anything because they aren't they don't have the same expressions as the animations did.
Right.
So when
and if they would have tried,
highly animated, but they took it highly animated and. You know, all the expressions of Scar and everybody else, the dynamic there, but then to take that away and make it into real animals was just really rough. So I'm hoping that Mulan's, you know, the extra things that they add, hopefully they took it in the same kind of route that they did with like Beauty and the Beast or Cinderella, where they added something and they made the story more meaty than the topical animation. Because if they were able to do that, that's possibly a good movie. I'm hoping.
Yeah. I just know there's not going to be Mushu.
Yeah.
I know. There's no Mushu, there's no Crikey. I mean, take my two favorite sidekicks, and then what's there to watch?
Right?
Yeah. I have a feeling it's going to take on a more serious feel about it, as opposed to the animated, which was more of like a fun adventure, like girl power kind of thing.
Yeah, like a fun. Yeah. There was. It doesn't. I get that impression too that there's not going to be as much fun, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of them singing.
I didn't see that either.
Tunes. I heard the mirror song ish tune, and I heard like one of the guys said something like, "I'm gonna make men out of you," and I was like,
right. I have a feeling they'll just play the original soundtrack in the background.
Yeah,
that's something like that.
All right, so talking about original soundtracks, let's move into Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
You know, because, the soundtracks were all there, supposedly, of all the previous movies. And we did get to see a really cool cameo from John Williams, so that was nice, too. Did you guys catch that?
We did?
Okay, good.
Wait.
I didn't. I was only half paying attention most of the time.
He was in the bar area when they walk in. It's great when you go see the movie with somebody who like knows everybody's faces and voices and stuff, because I was bombarded by all of the different cameos and things that were going on throughout the entire movie. So it was pretty cool.
Well,
do we want to start out with like first impressions? What's your end all? How do you feel about it? What's that?
I'll give you guys one guess as to how I felt about it.
You hated it.
Oh. Well, no, I'll start off with this. I went in trying to not expect much of anything at all, just kind of saying, all right, because The Last Jedi had its moments. Like, I enjoyed it as a movie, but Last Jedi had, like, the whole plot where they had to go meet the cyber guy or whatever with
at
Finn
the casinos.
and Rose. Yeah, in the casinos, and then the Free the Horses thing. Like, okay, you could have done that without the side stuff.
And then all that side stuff was completely negated, and
right.
It didn't matter that they did that.
Right, and so going into this next one, I'm like, I hope they don't do that stuff again. And it's a different director.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so now it's like, okay, hopefully this will be better, and more like the first one, which I enjoyed a lot better. So I enjoyed it very much. As a whole movie, and as pretty much like the wrapping things up sort of deal, I thought it was really great. And my husband and I were just having a great, fantastic talk on the way home about it, and kind of trying to, like, talk about some of the things we saw, like that the Force users were doing in the movie, kind of relating to things that we were seeing in The Mandalorian, too, because there's a little bit of Force happening in The Mandalorian, but not a lot. It's really only with Baby Yoda. So, like...
And Disney, don't think that I did not notice that you specifically put that episode out before the movie came out.
Right?
In order to establish that in the universe before people saw the movie. Mm-hmm. So, don't think I didn't notice that.
Clever there. Yeah.
So, I'm not sure that we actually said that this is a spoiler-ridden episode.
But yes, there are lots of spoilers.
And you haven't figured it out yet. We're going to talk about Rise of Skywalker. All three of us have watched it. All three of us are into it. So if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know why you're listening to this episode. You should probably go see Rise of Skywalker and then come back and listen to us talk about it. So as far as Baby Yoda healing that weird-looking dude in episode 7, yes, we all noticed that.
Wait, weird-looking dude? That was Carl Weathers.
Yeah, Carl Weathers. I couldn't remember his name.
I thought you meant the I Have Spoken guy. I'm like,
No, that guy's awesome. His name's Quill. So, I remembered, like, the creature dudes' names and not...
Yeah, not the humans.
But not the real guy's name.
The humans don't matter.
No, they really, do they? Let's be serious. So, Baby Yoda, or the child, however we're referring to him, and we can't actually talk about the last episode because I haven't seen episode 8 yet.
No worries, okay.
I mean, like, I thought that was super cool, too, that there was that reference there, then, that healing can happen, in those various ways, but Yoda just healed, or Baby Yoda just healed him, whereas the other, so Rey and Kylo kind of do this whole, like, resurrection thing, because I'm under the impression they were, like, actually dead, like, Kylo was dead, or Ben at this point in time.
Yeah, something.
Like,
man.
And I'm so totally, like, disturbed by the fact that, you know, all this time we've got Palpatine saying that the dark side is a path to things that some would consider unnatural. And I also was watching Empire Strikes Back at the same time I was delving into getting ready for this episode. So I have to admit I'm probably, like, all over the place with what I'm thinking and where I'm going. But when he says that, I never really put it together that, like, it was sort of like reanimation of corpses and not actual healing of people. So to see Rey and Ben do that was pretty cool. I mean, I know we hadn't seen it before, but I was also, like, feeling sad at that point for Anakin because all this time he was going to the dark side because he didn't want to lose Padme, and had he just been, you know, more in with the light side of the Force, who's to say that he couldn't have healed her to... I mean, I'm just so all over the place. Was she really going to die because of Palpatine putting that image into Anakin's head, or was she not going to die because it was all, like, faked and her heart wouldn't have been broken if Anakin hadn't gone to the dark side? And I've got all the questions, guys. So
I think it was...
Stop me from talking like a crazy person.
I think in that specific instance, it was more of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay, yeah.
Where it's like you work... It's like you see something and you work to prevent it, but in working to prevent it, you actually cause it.
Right. But now we're seeing the light side can heal, like, can actually resurrect, can actually, like, bring a person back to life.
Which is interesting, I guess. I mean, they did have healing in the expanded universe, which was considered, like, at least semi-canon, so it's not, like, a completely foreign concept, but I feel like JJ really, like, went above and beyond what it was ever meant to be. Like, you know, the dead are supposed to stay dead, and... You know, so in the light side, you know, it's more like, oh, well, I can heal you, but if you're dead, well, sorry about your luck.
Right. So how long does it take for someone to be really dead and disappear as a Jedi as opposed to being able to be healed? Like,
that's kind of what I was sort of thinking, too, is, like, I wonder if, like, I forget who it happened with first. If I forget how Kylo even came back out of that giant hole.
But rocks because he's like a grappler.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's got a mega strength. Okay, so but like is it part of that? I thought I understood it to be like giving some of your life force to the thing that you're healing through the force itself, like. Not that's like some magical healing, but you have to like pay for it through your own life force.
Yeah, that was something I think that they added, because as far as like I remember from reading about it, like it was more like using the force to manipulate and heal them.
Okay.
And not like actually giving part of yourself to them. I think that's more of what he, or JJ, when I say he, added to that. I don't think I really like that concept and idea. I don't know. On the one hand, I appreciate that it's not like unlimited magical healing ability where there's no price to be paid for something that potentially could have been permanent. But at the same time, I'm like, well, is that really how it was supposed to work? Or is that just something weird that they can do because they're a duality of the Force or whatever that is, whatever that means? Yeah. I will say this, like, in kind of looking back over the last 3 movies of Star Wars, it kind of, I like to kind of look at other trilogies and see, like, how they evolved. And, of course, like, one of my favorite trilogies is Lord of the Rings. And so, they released their movies pretty quickly in succession. Fellowship of the Ring came out in 2001, and then the next 2 years they released them, one after the other. The Two Towers in 2002 and Return of the King in 2003. And, I mean, obviously they were able to do that because they actually shot all 3 movies, like, simultaneously. So they weren't shooting 1 and then 2 and then 3. They were shooting, like...
That's so smart.
Yeah, they were shooting, like, multiple scenes from multiple movies all at the same time, which makes sense and is very economical. But the thing is they started this pre-production and this planning for these movies back in 1997. And then they started shooting in 1999. That's 2 whole years of prep work that they did, that they poured into this. And it shows because the story is strong, even though obviously they had the books to go off of. The books are ridiculously chock full of all kinds of things you would never be able to squeeze into a movie. So, it's kind of more or less a guide, but you still have to make your own story from it. So, it shows that they took all of this time and put it into the planning and the preparation and the plot and the writing and everything like that. When you get to something like these recent movies, however, to me at least, it's pretty obvious that it seems like they were just flying by the seat of their pants. Because each of these movies, even if you have a different director, you need to start out with a solid plan of where you're going and what you're doing. So that even if another director comes on board, they still have that plan and they can follow that plan for these movies. Because otherwise, it's going to be this weird, dissonant mess that it kind of ended up being anyway.
Yeah, like, I mean, even the Harry Potter movies had a change in directors throughout the movies as well. And you can tell there's a little bit different stylistically throughout the Harry Potter movies, but they still have a really solid background because they had a solid start.
Exactly. They have that solid backbone to go off of. And that's, I think, the big difference is, you need to start strong in order to end strong. And I don't feel like they really started that strong with this.
And at the same time, they started knowing they were going to do a trilogy.
Yeah, and it's like, why wouldn't you put the work into this, knowing that, okay, there's definitely going to be 3 movies, so let's, figure this out, figure out what story we want to tell and how we want to tell it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It makes me weep.
Although, I will say, though, I kind of... No, though Leia's character wasn't necessarily, like, super important to the movie itself, I do enjoy the way that they handled Leia's passing, because I kind of think it was a little paying of respect to Carrie Fisher passing away in real life, too. It was kind of like this is how we would imagine if Leia and Carrie were actually the same person in real life. Like,
yeah.
You know, like, I liked that as, like, a peaceful way she gave herself to her son, and, like,
yeah.
Hopefully it was something that Carrie would have liked as well.
Yeah. So explain that to me then too, because I know that she, was weak, and so she laid down, and Maz is saying that it's going to take all of her strength to get Kylo back, and then is she, like, force projecting to him? Why is it that when Ben dies, she dies? Is she still sort of there until he comes back? Is she not? Is she sort of a Jedi? Is she not a Jedi? Is she?
I think
kind of?
So. They did do a flashback with her. I think she was in Jedi training, but she didn't finish.
Right, because she gave her lightsaber to Luke.
Right. Yeah.
And told him
that somebody else was going to finish her journey or whatever. So I think, and
So
chime
is
in,
that-
Elizabeth, if you know anything else. I think what was kind of happening was, so she was like force projecting to Kylo, or I guess would he have been Ben at that point?
It was,
I don't
he was Benedict. Well, to begin with, he wasn't. He, like, converted after seeing his father in his memories.
Right. Yeah. And then, so, like, once he said Dad, he's like, okay, now I'm Ben again forever.
Yeah.
I guess.
it was kind of weird because, I mean, we've never really had much of these force projection things in the past. I can't think of anything from the expanded universe that they might have pulled that from.
Okay.
Because, I mean, Jedi usually, rely on, actual communicators and stuff like that. So...
Right, they did. And they could, like, sense other force-sensitive people and beings. But they didn't, like, interact with them or anything like that. So, I don't know.
And maybe this is where I'm mixing up canon and fanon, but as far as I was aware... The whole deal with the Force was that it wasn't that you could read minds or send specific messages. More, it was like being able to sense presences and emotions and things like that. It was kind of like empathic rather than telepathic.
Okay. Yeah. I think
that may be
probably accurate.
I can't like actually remember canon versus fanon at this point because I've like read so much and watched so much. It's just like sometimes I do get mixed up a little bit on what's what.
Yeah. But I think whether it was canon or fanon, I like that word fanon. It seems to make sense. So I don't know that it would be necessarily disagreed with. What was I going to say? Really the only thing that makes me think of is seeing other things was when Luke was on Dagobah with Yoda and he like went off in that dark cave and then he started seeing Darth Vader and that was actually like him in the mask. But that was something that the Force caused him to see as part of his training. Yeah,
and it wasn't real, so...
Right.
It's not like it was somebody specific talking to him.
Yeah, it wasn't Force space-time.
Yeah.
Which is what I've heard people call it. I'm like, that's a hilarious way to describe it, but it's totally accurate.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And then, like, okay, I think it's cool that, like, Ben and Rey have a unique relationship through the Force. I'm just not sure like where it came from or why it's there, because Palpatine kept calling them a duality in the Force, and like they're this duality in the Force, so they're super duper special. Both of them are very important, and so I think it's because of that though that caused them to be able to like pass physical objects through the Force, which is really cool. I just don't know if that's like a real thing. As part of canon either.
Yeah, I don't really recall anything like that before. I mean, granted, I'm not going to sit back here and say I've read like every single expanded universe novel or yeah. And I mean, even though it's not really canon now, I mean, they still like draw on that here and there. And I can actually tell and see when they're drawing like either ideas or inspiration from that, because I'm like, oh, well, that was from that, and that was from this story, and that was from that book. And, so I do know that even if they're not officially always bringing stories into canon, they're still bringing some concepts and some ideas into canon. So,
yeah.
I gotta say, though, I mean, there were like a couple of kind of neat moments, but I really couldn't enjoy it. I mean, most of what I enjoyed was like my husband kind of snarking through the movie. That was honestly the most enjoyable part of it for me. It's just, I had a feeling, you know, going into it that it was not going to be good. I had actually watched a YouTube review of it of somebody who got like early access, and so they gave like a literal like blow by blow of what happened. So I'm going into it knowing exactly what's going to happen, and so, you know, obviously my expectations are not like super high or anything, but I still feel like I ended up disappointed, even knowing what was going to happen. My whole prediction for JJ like desperately trying to like retcon Ryan's work as much as possible kind of held true, and so the beginning part of the whole like montage of her training and then having to go to this place and that place, like jumping like 5 or so different planets in the first several minutes, is just kind of, it's kind of got this dizzying effect where it's, or whiplash, where it's like, okay, well, where's my focus supposed to be? And, you know, what am I supposed to think? What am I supposed to feel? You know, there's supposed to be these big impactful moments like Rey with her training, and when you get that message from the Emperor and everything like that, there's supposed to be these big impactful moments, but because there's so much going on crammed into this short time, they don't feel as impactful as they should be, if that makes sense.
See, and I didn't get that feeling. I know that I'm a newer fan, I suppose, but I enjoyed the movie as much as I possibly could. I did feel like everything was really fast-paced. Like, they were definitely trying to cram a lot in. And there were certain things about this movie versus Rian Johnson's movie that I wish that they had, I don't know, sort of tried to elope things together as opposed to completely ignore them. But I heard a lot that this movie, Rise of Skywalker, was basically fan service, and we've talked about that in the past too, with final movies being like that as well, like Endgame being very fan servicey. And I got that too. Like, I totally understood. I know that a couple weeks ago, Elisabeth and I were talking about how she knew who Rey's lineage was. And I had sort of, you know, I hate spoilers, so every time I saw something that sort of said that was more recent, I was like, nope, not going to read it, not going to read it, not going to read it. But I had read some old stuff that had similar theories and completely off-the-wall theories as well. And I think what was most interesting to me was the way that all sort of shifted for the duality of the Force being, you know, Rey and Ben, but like in an opposite way. Like that Rey was really a Palpatine, and that Ben ends up going to the light side and being a Skywalker at the end. I really wish that they had gone back to like the hope that Rian Johnson had initiated with the kids at the end of his movie. I felt like that had a lot going for it as far as where Star Wars could be headed, especially for like reinitiating the Jedi Order, those kinds of things. But I'm not really sure that that's, you know, perpetuating the same storyline as what Star Wars should be doing right now.
Yeah.
We've literally seen them start the Jedi Order so many different ways, as far as either the Rebels or the Jedis, and everything kind of just going to hell each and every time, no matter how it happens. Between, you know, Kylo killing his fellow students as opposed to Anakin killing all the younglings, I was just like, really? We gotta watch this again?
Yeah, like a repeat.
Right.
And,
so
then and then it was Palpatine the whole time. Again.
Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
That was something I'm like, I don't know exactly how I feel about it actually being Palpatine the whole time. Like, that was one of the big theories after The Force Awakens. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe it will be. And now that it actually was, I'm like, I'm a little unsure
I mean,
How,
it makes him, like,
really?
really,
They
really
did go with that?
Yeah. It makes him into a big bad. Like, I get it, but at the same time, I don't know if it would have been better written any other way. Like, had it been some other villain or the dark side or Sith in general or some other Sith in general, then would that have been better or not? And I am truly scared of letting Aurelia see Rise of Skywalker because I'm kind of sure she's going to have nightmares of Palpatine, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, when they open with it, we see him pretty early in the movie, and I'm like, oh no, this is freaky. This is like the stuff of nightmares. Because he's just how did he survive the whole fall and zappage? Are we really going with reanimation? Are we going with was that even the real first Palpatine? Like,
and I don't even know.
And honestly, this is like one of my biggest things with the movie because it seems to generate more questions than it answers.
Yes.
And the thing is like I have no problem with like this idea with Palpatine coming back. He came back in the expanded universe. It was actually a pretty interesting storyline. Involving him trying to kidnap Leia's younger son in order to transfer his essence into him instead of the botched clones that he had. But
it kind of sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's actually like a really cool little storyline. But the thing is like I have so many questions. Like, why did he send out that message? Why this arbitrary deadline of 16 hours? Like, he is supposed to be this really smart dude who literally operated for decades right under the Jedi's nose, training up his own apprentice, and he's going to give the rebels or the resistance or whoever a 16-hour head start? Really?
Weird.
Really? That just seems so stupid.
And like, why then? Why then of all times?
Like, why 16 hours?
A deadline, like
And all of these ships, like, okay, who built these ships? How is this funded? Where did they get all of these materials? Like, there had to have been
ships.
Yeah, like they had to have gotten this material from somewhere. Who didn't notice all of this material either all of a sudden being bought up or going missing? Like, who was working on these? Were they slaves? Were they workers? Like, how did this escape anyone's notice? Like, it just seems really... It honestly seems...
real answers, like, I don't know, man.
It honestly seems really, really contrived. And also, the one thing, now, my husband did... I think, find out the answer to this particular question, but when they're stuck in that black sand stuff, which, by the way, there is absolutely no reason why that black sand should have sucked them down into a tunnel. That makes absolutely no sense. I have...
Super weird.
Yeah, really, really weird.
Yeah, but whatever that was.
But whenever Finn says, Rey, before we go, like, I want to tell you something, and then, you know, he gets sucked down, and he never comes back to it. We never see him, you know, come back with whatever he wanted to say. Apparently, I guess it was supposed to be that he was force sensitive, which, how could she not sense that if that's true? But
right, she would have known.
Right, and why would that be a thing he would say right when he was being sucked into black?
Right, like, she should know that already. Like,
yeah, that seems the weird thing. Like at first I'm like, what? Is he gonna, like, confess his love to her all of a sudden? And then, that would be a super weird random side thing.
It's like a weird thing that they were saying that they were going to do, but maybe he wasn't going to say that. It's like, and I feel like I also heard that J.J. Abrams had said that's what he was going to say was that he's force sensitive. Like, come on.
But then he left it vague.
Yeah.
But like, why though?
Leave it vague.
If
it's
I'm
the last movie. What are we
going
to do about
it? I'm not going to waste my time telling somebody I'm force sensitive because clearly I'm not force sensitive.
You're just going to do it.
I'm being killed by black sand.
Right?
So,
yeah. Like, if you were force sensitive, then use the force. Don't tell somebody about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, oh, Rey, I feel it too. Like, okay.
Right?
Do something about it, honey. Come on.
And I have noticed this thing about JJ where it seems like in his movies he kind of like makes these winks and these little things at the audience and makes these things happen for the audience's benefit, but they don't actually benefit the story. One of my specific examples is in the second Star Trek movie. I completely blanked on the name right now. Into Darkness, I think that is.
Yeah, I think so.
The one
of the newer ones?
Yeah, the one with Khan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so when they've captured Khan and they have him in there, they don't actually know who he is yet. And, they're standing there talking with him, and he tells them, I am Khan. At that point, Captain Kirk and Spock and whoever else is there, they have no idea who Khan is, and they don't care. The name Khan means absolutely nothing to them. Like, when Khan was set up in the original series, we met the man, and we found out about Khan, but we just didn't know that the man was actually Khan. And so it was that big reveal that kind of revealed that, oh yes, this, evil dude is, actually still alive, and he's right there. Like, that was the reveal. But in the newer movies, he just says, I am Khan, like they should know who he is, and they don't know. They don't care. It's more for the audience's benefit to hear him say those words than it is for the characters. Likewise, in this movie, we see Chewie, or what we think is Chewie's ship, getting blown up by Rey, which I really don't like that they kill characters and immediately bring them back. It really loses the weight and the gravitas of killing off a character, and you kind of get numb to it, which is not good. But that aside, if you have to bring him back, don't immediately bring him back for the audience. Reveal him when the characters who know him will see him. Yeah. Like when Rey or somebody he knows is able to see him, that's when you reveal, oh yeah, he is still alive then. Don't tell the audience first. So that is, I think, just part of JJ's writing and style to kind of give these winks to the audience that don't really... they just don't benefit.
You don't have to worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, but the audience should worry about it. That's what you want. That's what you should want them to do. You want them to go through this grief for this character as they're watching this movie, so that if they are brought back, then it's this huge sigh of relief. But at this point, we're pretty much still just too much in shock to even start to process that grief, and then, oh, okay, he's okay then? All right. It doesn't... We need to let it... You need to let it, like, settle in and be driven home.
Let it simmer for a little while.
Yeah, before you do the reveal. Mm-hmm. But that's just my opinion as a writer, so have that as you will.
There's a couple other things I wanted to make sure that I ask you guys. How do we feel about Rey taking the last name Skywalker?
I do not like it. Absolutely no.
First off, I was hoping that she wouldn't be an actual Palpatine. Like, after seeing all these fan theories, like, how could it have been that predictable? That she was actually Palpatine. And then that she took Skywalker as her name, like, almost like she had married Ben, but they'd never got the chance to because they had apparently been in love this whole time.
Which I don't like.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Like,
the thing is
so,
I think
like,
it would have
brought her back, and then they like gazed at each other, like they suddenly realized how they felt about each other and kissed. And I'm like, excuse me? Was this supposed to be apparent this whole time, or did you just suddenly fall in love in that instant?
Oh no, it has been building since that shirtless force projection scene.
Oh,
dude,
dear
I
goodness.
think that their love story is better than Anakin and Padme's, and better than Han and Leia's. So we could fight about this if you want.
I mean, to be honest, Twilight is a better love story than Anakin and Padme. To be honest, at least how they were portrayed. And I mean, honestly, Kylo, the relationship between Kylo or Ben and Rey, I see as toxic and slightly, actually more than slightly abusive from his end, but...
Yeah.
And I mean, some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't, but at the same time, like, I mean, I'll let the shippers have them. I don't mind if people want to ship them.
I honestly did not see them in romantic light at all. Like, I was shocked when they even, like, started to move toward each other. Like, what?
Yeah,
I did not see that as romantic at all.
I agree to disagree on this one. I
guess you can. That's fine. Honestly, I totally thought Rey was just going to be a free agent girl and not have anybody.
Don't need no man.
Right. I thought she was just going to be out there.
I mean, honestly, I think it would have been better for her at the end to, when she was asked what her last name is to say proudly that I am a Palpatine, because she has that moment then to reclaim that name and do good in that name.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like, yeah, she doesn't have to change her name to be good. She can be good and change her family's legacy, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Like, turn it around. And, like...
I think in a way, though,
but then would the movie have to be called The Rise of Palpatine? And...
that would have been so much more ominous, and I love it.
Right.
They could have just called it The Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah. They could have done that, too.
So we're going to disagree on this one.
There needs to be a gif of Emperor Palpatine, like, doing a little dance.
How about when we actually get to see Carrie Fisher as Leia? Like, the footage that J.J. Abrams said he, reconfigured. Did you guys notice any CGI nonsense?
I did notice a little bit here and there.
Yeah. Oh, well, especially
but I mean, the movie
flashback scene.
Yeah, but I mean, the movie.
When she was younger.
Yeah, but I mean, the movie is chock full of CGI too, so it didn't glaringly stand out to me, but it's just a part of a CGI movie,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and I know there was some footage that they saved from Last Jedi to help with the transition a little bit. But I don't know that they needed to transition her character to the next movie anyways, so...
I mean, honestly, I think it would have meant more if she died in the last one anyway, and I actually said this before Carrie Fisher actually died in real life, but I think it would have meant something a little bit more to Kylo or Ben, or whatever we're calling him. I think it would have meant more to his character and his story arc to, have him kill his father, have him be responsible for his mother's death, and then basically, have all of these familial strings severed. Say that 5 times fast. And, thinking that, this is going to make me free, but then he does not feel free at all. He feels...
It does the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. He feels trapped now. And so that's part of how he, kicks over and goes back to the light side. But...
I totally thought she was going to die in the second one.
Uh-huh.
And when she didn't, I was so surprised. And then she died in real life, too. And I'm like, but what now? And so, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's so weird because, the Star Wars cartoons have been excellent. The Mandalorian, more than excellent. It really just goes to show, what a different set of writers and producers and directors can do, because it's the same source material, it's the same universe, it's chock full of wonderful stories to take advantage of. It's just how you do it and how it's delivered. And I don't know, I feel like this most recent trilogy, the first one, I won't say it's good, but I will say it's at least entertaining to watch. But then the second one and now the third one, it's I don't even want to watch these again. I'm just totally not even invested anymore,
Okay, anything else you guys want to make sure you say?
Not about The Rise of Skywalker, but The Mandalorian. I have been really enjoying that too. But I was actually kind of surprised. My husband's cousin was really meh about it. And I'm like, really? And he doesn't have a lot of background in the extended universe or anything like that. He's just yeah, I don't know. It's a good show, I guess, but meh. I don't know. And I was kind of just surprised that he was so indifferent about it.
He had no reason, but he just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I guess my biggest question about the whole show is why is the Mandalorian I guess where are we going with this? Because I do enjoy this storyline itself and the whole mystery behind him and how things have kind of started to play out toward the end. I'm not going to say anything else for Lindsay's sake. But I don't know what it is exactly that I like about it, but it's just so... Each episode, even though it's so short, it feels like it's a movie almost.
Yeah, it's because you have really well-written, strong characters who are following specific storylines with specific goals and specific steps to reach them. It's one of the things that I think is lacking, not only from, the Star Wars movies, but from a lot of movies in general. You're given these characters who, it's like, okay, you're supposed to connect with them, but we're not given a reason to connect with them. And it's between the environment and the actions of the people in the series, we do end up connecting with them. It's kind of almost natural in a way, because we see, okay, well, this guy, he does bounty hunting, and so he's kind of this, maybe not necessarily soulless, but he's just kind of hardened to his work, and it's just a job for him. Even if he may be basically destroying certain people's lives by, taking them in or killing them or whatever. It's just a job to him. But then, he finds this little creature who is absolutely adorable, and from the moment they meet, there's just a special connection. And I kind of almost wonder if Baby Yoda was able to, reach out with the Force and connect with him on some level, and that's why he just immediately moved to kill the IG unit for him.
Could have been.
I don't know. Maybe headcanon, but...
headcanon for now until proven otherwise.
Yeah. So there's a certain organic chemistry when you have solid writing that you don't get when something is rushed or forced. You can tell. If something is well done and you've prepared for it, and when you're just flying by the seat of your pants. And I think this is just the case for certain mediums of the Star Wars media.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think, at least.
There's wise words to go by, whether you're doing real science or whether you're doing movie science. Mm-hmm. Don't go about organic chemistry very lightly.
Yes.
It takes careful planning to create organic chemistry.
Yes.
Elizabeth, what do you have for us for Gaming Corner this week?
All right, Gaming Corner this week, I have kind of an interesting conundrum. So, I played the first Mass Effect from the Xbox Game Pass, and I've been wanting to play the second one for forever, but I just haven't had a chance. And over Yule, I was able to buy a digital copy and download it and play it. And I got a little couple buck expansion for it so that I could set the decisions from Mass Effect 1 without actually importing a Shepard, because for me, it's really, really difficult to not romance anybody, and I wanted my Shepard to be free and clear because there were certain aliens that I wanted to get with. And so
I didn't realize you could do that.
Yes.
So you could decide which things you're carrying over and which you're not?
Yeah. So it was only a few bucks, and I'm like, well, it's worth it, So instead of importing an actual character, I just made a new character, but it goes through this montage of basically recounting the events from Mass Effect 1, and then it will give you the chance to, make a decision, kind of like who gets left behind at Vermeer. Do you romance anybody? Do you save the council? And, just major decisions like that. And, of course, it stopped... it finished downloading around 3 a.m, but but I was in a severe bout of insomnia, and I was still up, and I'm like, you know what, whatever, I'm going to start playing. So I created my character, started going through there, and because I was so tired, instead of setting my Shepard as single, I set her as in a relationship with Caden, and I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Why did I do that? But I was like, you know what? It's okay. I can just break up with him, or I can just, go ahead and just get with an alien. It's okay. It's fine. It's totally fine, right? So I get to the little mission on Horizon where we actually meet Caden again. And of course, he's kind of glad to see Shepard, but then he's kind of angry because you've been dead for 2 years. Why didn't you contact me that you were really alive? Why are you with Cerberus, this shady organization that we both hated before? You've changed. You're different. What's going on? His anger is 100% justified, and I totally understand where he's coming from. But at the same time, it's ouch, that kind of hurts, Caden. That kind of hurts. So after that, I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be my Shepard's, motivation to shake off that old relationship and, go after Garrus. Because he's, like, my first target for romance at this point. And all of a sudden, I get back from Horizon. I think I did one other mission. And I have a message waiting for me from Caden. And it's basically like, he's calmed down and he's written this message, like basically pouring his soul out, trying to express, what he feels and, that he does still care about Shepard. And I'm sitting there looking at this, and I'm like, I can't break up with him. I can't break up with him. I can't cheat on him. He's too sweet. And I mean, I understand his hurt. I understand why he's angry and why he was angry and hurt and everything. Like, I can't do this to him. So yeah, I've been playing hours by this point, and there was no hesitation. I quit that particular save, and I completely made a new Shepard so that I could have a single Shepard, because I couldn't do it. I couldn't go through with a Garrus relationship with Caden on the line. And it's kind of become this interesting thing about me where I just can't be mean to NPCs. In certain ones I can, but for the most part, it's like I just can't be mean. I can't insult people. I can't, like, just be harsh and, like, write people off. Like, even in Inquisition, like, I could never send away Cole. I can never, like, condemn him as for being a demon or anything like that. I can't. I can never sacrifice the chargers and make the bull turn on you. I just can't do any of that. And I don't know. I guess I'm just. I want to say that I can be mean because I believe in my heart that I can be mean, but I guess it's just it has to be directed at the right target, because I can't just be a generally mean person.
And my husband's kind of the same way too. Because Mass Effect 2 is his favorite game to play, pretty much of all time. So his last playthrough of Mass Effect 2, he played on his Twitch stream, and all of his subscribers decided who he was going to romance, all of his decisions he was going to make throughout the game, and he had to do all of the, like, meanest reactions to everything. And he did not enjoy that very much.
That would break my heart.
Yeah, but and they also really wanted him to romance Jack, but she was also considered a fling character, I think, rather than a full-on, like, relationship.
Well, she's interesting because you can have a fling with her, or you can have a relationship with her. It's two different paths. So he probably.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so he probably went the renegade path and just had a fling with her instead of.
Yeah.
Doing the real romance.
Yeah, because he did do all of the full-on renegade reactions and everything. But what was funny is he didn't realize going into Mass Effect 2 that in Mass Effect 1 he, like, got on really, really friendly terms with Liara.
Ooh.
And so he comes in, and the first time he sees her in Mass Effect 2, he was just really surprised. Because she came up to him and was like, hello.
Yeah. So I don't know what it is. Like, I'm like, realistically, logically, in my mind, I understand that these are just pixels, that they're, their actions are determined by coding and things like that. But the way that these video games are written, you really start connecting with these characters. And it's like, it's not that they become full-fledged friends, like a real-life friend, but it's like they do kind of become friends in a sense. Like, and you don't want to just be mean to your friends. I don't know.
Right.
So that's it. I can't be mean, I guess.
It happens.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else that we wanted to add about Rise of Skywalker and Star Wars in general? That we're going to basically be closing the chapter here on Star Wars. I don't think it's going to be a long, long time before we ever tackle a Star Wars topic again.
Okay. Well, except when we do end up talking about whether Star Wars is science fiction or fantasy. But that's another episode.
Oh, yeah. For another day.
Yeah. For another day.
Anyway, we would love to know what you guys have to say about Star Wars Rise of Skywalker or any of the other 3 trilogies. I mean, honestly, we've bombarded you with Star Wars this past month. And I've been bombarded, honestly. I think I'm actually maybe going to watch Clone Wars just so I can get into that too and pick some brains of some people I know. I did. But we would love to hear what you guys have to say on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we would also love to know if you have topics or things you'd like to listen to us talk about, or would even maybe want to come talk to us. We would love to do that as well. So please let us know in any comments anywhere. We promise we'll read it, and we promise we will respond. With that, I am Lindsay.
I'm Elisabeth.
And I'm Emily. Thanks for having me back, guys.
Of course.
And thanks for getting dirty with us on Beauties and Headcanon.